Joined Together Atlantic County would like to introduce Sergeant Jennifer Cugini with the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My presentation is called Soccer Was Life, Now What? My early childhood. I was born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, which is in Cumberland County. My father was a career firefighter for the Vineland Fire Department for 36 years. My mom was a paralegal for a small law firm that was actually my godfather was a lawyer. I had no athletes in my family. My sister is 3 years older than me, and she is the complete opposite of an athlete. She was the one that watched all the sports, knew all the Eagles and the Flyers, and I was the one that tried playing all of them. So I was a multi-sport youth athlete. I tried every sport there was. I was really bad at some, basketball, terrible basketball player, but I grew to love soccer. By 13, I kind of narrowed my sports down to just soccer and track to stay in shape for soccer. Our vacations totally turned into soccer tournaments. There was a tournament in Texas over Easter. There was San Diego Cup. My parents didn't have a ton of money, so our vacations totally revolved around my soccer. I always took schoolwork pretty seriously. My parents made me. Plus, my friends were all, we were all in the same classes and we played soccer together. So most of my friends were athletes, soccer players, and I had a really good friend that was a swimmer. But I surrounded myself around athletes for the most part through my high school days. I sacrificed a lot, but I loved it. I missed a lot in high school. Proms, I went to some, stayed home from some. I was supposed to miss my high school graduation to play soccer in Africa, and the trip got canceled right before graduation. So I went to my high school graduation. But soccer pretty much ruled my life in high school, but I loved it. When it came to choose my college, it was interesting because I had the choice between narrowed down from Lehigh to University of Maryland. I loved Lehigh. It was totally different official visit than Maryland. Being in the Patriot League, Lehigh was just a smaller, everything was smaller. The soccer field was smaller. The stadium was smaller. It was a lot more based on education than sports. My scholarship would have been more of a grant than it was like an actual athlete scholarship. So when I visited Maryland, it was a total different experience. You went to a football game with a massive stadium and a ton of people. So I chose University of Maryland. The reason why I chose it was mostly because of the soccer experience. I was sucked into the money that the college had for athletics, and it just drew me in. I felt at home when I went on my visit there. So beginning my freshman year at Maryland, it was total eye opener. We had road trips. You went with tutors. We had mandatory study hall hours. You had to have a certain GPA to be eligible to play. So my college experience playing soccer is a total different presentation that we could have, but it was a long one. I had a couple knee surgeries along the way. I ended up with a 5th year because of a redshirt year with a knee injury my sophomore year. And I really look back and I think my 5th year was putting off starting life. I took 6 credits to just be able to play. And I think I was just putting off it was inevitable, the fact that soccer was coming to an end and life had to start. So when that final whistle blows, it's a scary thing when that final whistle happens. It's twofold. You have your athletic side of you. So like I said, I had a lot of knee injuries through college. My final knee surgery was inevitable once I was done playing soccer. I had to have my full knee done, ACL, PCL, MCL. And I knew as soon as that final whistle blew that I was in for that surgery. I also knew that my recovery after that surgery was on me. I was no longer a University of Maryland athlete. I was now Jen Lavecchio at the time, and I had to figure things out on my own. Definitely depression hit, and I felt completely worthless. Soccer was, I felt, everything. And without soccer, what am I? Who is Jen without soccer? So the life side, yes, now what? I can't even walk. How am I supposed to go to work? What am I supposed to do with myself? I lived on my parents' couch for 3 months, completely in a straight leg cast. And it was just a really, really low point. Most of my friends were either still playing or they were attempting life on their own. We were all kind of just lost. It's the best way I can describe it. It was the first time in my life that I did not know my purpose. I truly didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. So I had to choose a path. I had a lot of support with my parents, which was huge. So the path that I chose, I had a surgery to bend my knee the March after that big surgery in December. So I had surgery to bend, and the surgeon was a University of Maryland surgeon. They kept reminding me, your surgery was for life. It's for life after soccer. You didn't have rehab. You didn't have this surgery to play soccer again. You had it to be able to live a normal life after soccer. The realization then hit, okay, this is over. I need to move on. I have to accept this. It was definitely a hard mental struggle to get to that point, but I got there. I knew I wanted to do something in law enforcement. And as crazy as it sounds, I was going back and forth to rehab in University of Maryland. I used their athletic services for rehab. And I remember seeing a billboard for Baltimore City Police Department. And I actually called the 1-800 number for Baltimore City PD. And it kind of gave me a goal. Okay, I'm going to join this police department and their academy is going to start in December. So I have to get myself fit. I have to get this knee working. I have to do everything to become ready for the Baltimore Police Academy, which I really didn't even know what that entailed at the time, but I knew I needed to make new goals and get it done. So looking back at my soccer experiences, that's what prepared me for the academy, right? Soccer, going into preseason, what you have to run your 120s in, what you have to do the beep test in. I knew what I needed to run the 1.5 miles in. I knew how many push-ups I had to do. I knew how many sit-ups I had to do. So it kind of went hand in hand. I prepared for the academy the same way I prepared for preseason for soccer for those last 5 years. My life kind of took off from there once I made that choice. So after the Baltimore Academy, I spent about a year in the police department, and then I went on to grad school in Philadelphia. When I was in graduate school in Philadelphia, I met my husband. That's what brought me back to South Jersey from Maryland. I went right to the prosecutor's office right from graduate school. And like I said, my last point in the last slide was my life took off, and I'm not kidding you, it did. Looking back, it's kind of like a blur. How did I get from here to there? And I didn't really look back until now. So I met my husband in grad school, and then I got the job with the Atlanta County Prosecutor's Office. So I made the decision not to go back to Maryland and pursue my career through that police department. Instead, I joined the Atlanta County Prosecutor's Office. I don't play soccer at all. Even just last Thursday, my kids my one daughter had a parents versus kids fun soccer game, and I just don't play. It's two reasons for me. One is my knee. I get nervous just on wet grass that I'm going to do something silly and hurt myself, and that was just an awful experience, which I've had 2 knee surgeries since that big one, just when I tweak something. And then the other thing is soccer is a past of mine. Actually playing the sport, that's in my past, and that's just a personal choice. So my 2 daughters both play travel soccer, and I love watching them play, and I like that aspect of soccer now. it's just recently in the past several years that I really realized the impact that soccer has had on my life, both positive and negative. So with that said, I wouldn't change a thing, but I wish I had a plan, right? I look back at my youth and how much it revolved around soccer, everything. Like I said in the beginning, from when I was 13 years old, my vacations revolved around soccer. My college choice of Lehigh versus Maryland, that revolved around soccer. And that's fine, but I wish I had a plan. I wish with the choices that I made came a plan. Keep your teammates and your friends close because you'll need them. A lot of what I went through after University of Maryland, I wouldn't have been able to do without my family and my friends. My family, especially my mom and my dad and my sister, they helped open my eyes to, I didn't want to hear it, but that soccer was done. And Jen, you are capable of doing so many more things with your life. Look at what you've done, right? You can't forget what you've done. You can't forget all the hard work that you did to become the athlete that you are and you were. But take that and say, okay, now what can I put that towards? What can I do with that? So it's okay to have a passion along with your sport. I kind of lost that. I was so obsessed with soccer. Did I have any other passions when I was growing up? Could I have tapped into anything else? My one daughter loves art. My one best friend who played soccer her whole life, her little brother did the same thing, soccer his whole life. Now he plays the guitar and he's in a band. So did he always have that passion, but didn't pay attention to it because he was so, his mind was so on soccer. Use your athletic experiences for the next chapter in your life. So much of what I did with soccer, I use now. For instance, in my interview to become sergeant with the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, I was asked the question of leading people that have more experience than I do, and if that was going to be hard for me. And you know what I take away from soccer was I was never the best player on the field. That was just me. I think I was the hardest worker or one of the hardest working players, but I was never the best. I was never on paper the national team player. But you take that and you move on. So are you going to be the best at what you're doing all the time? Not necessarily, but you can make the people around you better. And that kind of leads me into my next slide. How everyday life is still a sport for me. There will always be someone better than me in everything that I'm doing. And I'm okay with that. I've become okay with that. Because there's always going to be people that are less experienced than you, that you can help get better. And you can learn from the people that are better than you, and you can help the people that are less experienced get to where you are. Always have personal goals. It's easy when you're an athlete to have personal goals because they're in front of you. They're small in a sense where you're like, okay, my personal goal is to make the starting lineup for Saturday. My personal goal is to get my ankle feeling better. But have big personal goals. Have bigger goals than just the small ones in your sport. And I know they're not small to you now, but have bigger goals outside of just that game on Saturday. Practice and train and always strive to be better. And that's with everything in life. Look at schoolwork. If you got an 85 on the test, challenge yourself to get a 90. You have in your mind the ability to challenge yourself, or else you wouldn't be where you are in the sport that you're playing. So do that with everything in life. Don't just do it with sports. Like I said, I do it now. And I think if I would have done it more as in my youth with soccer, I could have done more things than I did. Teamwork in life, in work and home. So you're obviously all on a team. And I've realized how much teamwork is every aspect of life. So when I look at my office, the prosecutor's office, the squads you're on, you work better when you're working as a team, when everybody's getting along, when everybody has a common goal. You don't have to be the same person. It's actually better if you're not, because you can work off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, as we talked about above. But everything is teamwork. Home, I have a husband and 2 kids. That's teamwork. Marriages, relationships, it's all teamwork. So really pay attention to your teamwork, and you're always going to have teamwork in life. Challenges are our motivation. As athletes, you want a challenge. You never want to just settle. You never want to just think to yourself, okay, this is the best I can be. Always challenge yourself. That's what motivates us. And motivation is what keeps you moving. It's what keeps you striving to just do better. I liked this last little life is like soccer. You need goals. It's kind of what the point I'm trying to make with this presentation is just have goals and just always strive to be the best you can. So thank you for listening today. Please contact JTAC with any questions. I would love to hear from you, and hope everybody is doing well.